Hey, it's Christy
and Heather
from Sinisterhood with some exciting news. We are on tour right now and we are having an absolute blast.
So much fun. We cannot wait for our next tour dates. They're coming up in August. We're going to be in Detroit, Michigan on August 15th, Columbus, Ohio on August 16th, and Pittsburgh, PA on August 17th.
We've got an all new show for you this tour called Full Moon Energy. If you've seen a live show before, this is just as fun and as exciting. It's a totally different format though. It's all about the moon, but there's so much under the moon: cryptids, conspiracies, true crime, all sorts of spooky, interesting, fun stuff mixed in with some very fun audience participation bits as well.
So much fun audience participation. And someone said it's as if we travel with a cabinet of curiosities of all the things we have on stage, from McGruff to the corn skulls and all kinds of things in between. So for just that,
we're going to have to get like a trunk to carry all of our curiosities around, so then we can just take them to each city and reveal the trunk, because yeah, there's a lot.
What else is in the trunk? You won't believe it. Well, come on out and see us, because we'll teach you stuff, we'll laugh with you, and we'll show you your goods.
Tickets for all shows are available now. For all details, including dates, times, venues, and more, visit sinisterhood.com/live shows.
We'll see you on the road. A group of newcomers descended on a tiny East Texas town with their strange beliefs, as their leader posted increasingly odd videos online claiming to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ and an extraterrestrial star commander of a galactic spaceship. They caught the eye of a journalist on TikTok reporting on cults, but once the group went viral, unsavory details about its leader's past emerged. The group tried hiding its online activity, but some residents say the so-called Doomsday Cult has not stopped its pursuit of the small town. This week's episode is Profundity Yours, Part 1. A bump in the night, your heart fills with dread. Probably a murderer who wants you dead. It could be a ghost, a demon, or worse. Perhaps you're the victim of a witch's curse. It's hopeless, you're doomed. You'd call a priest if you could. You'd rather just listen to who? Sinisterhood. Well, this episode is a mini-sode coming to you from our Patreon feed that we did just a couple months ago, but it is something that's been gaining more and more information on it in the public. The Dallas Morning News just did an article on this group just this past week.
We've heard about it from a lot of people, and because it's not too far from us, people always like to send us stuff when it's local. And then we discovered kind of on TikTok that another journalist, Ciaran Warner, has been covering this cult as well. And it's one that's kind of just now getting some traction. So we're kind of getting in when on the ground floor here, which is, in my opinion, the best time to get in, not to join, but to try and help those that have joined.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's better if there's only 10 or 20 people that are possibly harmed instead of 900 people that are possibly harmed. No, certainly. And you're right, because it is so new. That's why we did it as a mini-sode. There was very little information, but now in the preceding months, more and more has come out that we're now able to do a part 2, including our interview with Ciaran Warner, who kind of broke this story on TikTok. So we have a discussion with him coming up for you all next week, and what we learned from him, and the terabytes of video evidence that he has, and information that he's been willing to share, be able to discuss some of that in part 2.
As well as talking with some people that currently have family members that are involved in this cult, and they desperately want them out and back. So anything we can do to help with anyone that may be involved in this does not want to be, or the families of the victims, then we're going to do whatever we can.
Yeah. And if it helps to get the information out there, I know sometimes, stuff will get shared, maybe some of the group's videos get shared on an innocuous forum, not knowing the underlying details of it. So I guess the more holistic information we can help put out there, that's what we're going to help do with all the info we've gleaned so far is in this one, and you'll hear the rest of it in part 2.
And if you have been affected by this cult or you know someone that has, you can email us at sinisterhoodpodcast@gmail.com and we'll be in touch with you to discuss that further.
Yeah, let us know your story. So thanks for those who have reached out so far.
Yeah, this, like Heather said, this was a mini-sode, but sometimes our mini-sodes, after enough people hear them or more comes out, we realize this could help more people being released to a wider audience. So that's why I made the call with this one.
Right. Yeah. If more people need to hear it, or if it'll help when somebody's Googling it, just something to come up.
Yeah, true.
That's all. That's what we can do. And thanks to everybody on Patreon for supporting us to be able to create it in the first place.
Absolutely. If anybody is like me, you just said, is that a word? Turns out it is.
It is a word.
Didn't know it was a word until we started doing. I mean, I know what profound means, but I did not know profundity. I thought it was just some garble language like the other shit she said.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't blame you.
Real word.
If someone says 10 things to you and 9 of them aren't words, you're like, well, surely the 10th one's also gibberish. And you're like, no, it's just kind of an arcane, like different version of it's like, oh, she spoke with great profundity. But I think people would now say like, oh, her speech was profound. Yeah. Or it's like, I wouldn't say it that way, but not Linda.
Linda's got to do it different. If we've learned anything from Linda, she's not one to stay inside the box.
Linda. So are we going to go? Are we going to Marietta? That's where all this is going down. We're going on tour. Full Moon Energy Marietta show.
I did Google about 10 minutes ago. How far is it to get there? Turns out 2 hours, 45 minutes. So with stops, I'm thinking about 3.5 or so.
Yeah, there'd have to be something for me to keep going to, on the other side, go like,
you're not going to go and turn around and come back?
No, I'm not making the trip just for Linda. But if I'm on my way, if we were going to go, I was listening to an episode of National Park After Dark today about hot springs, and it's made me want to go to Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go there.
So we could I went on a motorcycle trip. We started in Hot Springs, but we didn't stay. We drove across the Tallahena Scenic Bypass. So it's one of those where if I'm going out that way for something, I'm fine to go out that way, but I'm not trying to go out for no 3.
I'm sorry. Is the Old Town Cafe menu not enough for you to go to Marietta, Texas?
Can I just tell you, and this is a deep cut, weird friendship reference that I say deep cut only because our listeners haven't seen it, but I imagine that this is the same restaurant from that short film that we made that you're in, that they're trying to order coleslaw. I think I can't prove that Startown Cafe and this Old Town Cafe are the same thing.
Oh, yes.
But
the fictional Startown Cafe. I thought you meant the restaurant we actually filmed in. I was like, damn.
No, but our friend wrote us a funny little short film, and Paris and I directed it, and Christy was in it, and it's about this weird little diner with a country kind of waitress, and I was like, I bet that's the same. It's like the similar feel of you're in a diner that's just not quite right. Like you stop at this roadside diner and you're like, it's a small town. And then the people start acting weird. And then residents are like, well, we used to own this, but the cult bought it. So it's the cult's restaurant now. And you're like, what's in this tuna salad?
Anyways, the tuna salad's on special today. It's delicious. Make sure you eat every bite.
Did you park in the front spots? Because those are Starfleet vehicle parking only for interstellar travel vehicles. Because we're about to get into it. They're not riding John Deeres out here.
Hell no. Although, don't
maybe
besmirch the good name of John
Deere.
Don't threaten me. And I appreciate the multiple people that have reached out to me personally to say, hey, I got a John Deere riding lawnmower if you want to come mow a lawn. And I'm just deciding who I'm going to take up on their offer right now.
All of
them? It's like draft day, and I'm like a number one pick, and I have a lot of options, and I got to see, where should I go?
We're doing a signing day ceremony of Christy responding to emails saying, yes, I will be there. I would love to ride on your farm implement. Because we did. After you said that was a bucket list, we have so many kind people that were like, hell yeah, you can come ride my lawnmower.
They're like, wait, so you just want to mow a lawn? I got a lawn you can mow. Come on over.
Yeah, right. Why are you wishing when you can make your dreams come true?
Oh, damn. That's what Linda said.
Oh, speaking of dreams.
That's how she started. what you called Love is 1 2.0.
Yeah. That's what it seems like.
They got a lot of the same similarities for sure.
It's only a matter of time before she has a GoFundMe for a tilt-a-whirl, or maybe hers will be like a tiny, like bumper boats or something. I don't know, a roller coaster. But I
feel like Linda, she walks the fine line between like thrill seeking and death defying. So I don't think she's doing tilt-a-whirl. I think it's like bungee jumping.
Yeah, they pull you back and it shoots you out.
Yeah, that's like a lot more immersive.
There's a video of her, one of her early ones, that she's just like, I'm going to go bathe in this local river. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. She's ready to, you don't get to run a cult if you don't take risks, is what I'm saying. And she's a risk taker.
Nobody's ever run a cult sitting on their couch. So like they have couch to 5K.
Yes.
You got couch to cult. Yeah. And it'll teach you how to get there.
Yeah, she followed the playbook. She followed the Mother God playbook. Out of this Linda. World is Linda Good McGillis.
She's going to be front and center at our next show.
I'm like, she's going to hear this.
We'll know her voice before we see her, I think.
Yeah. We're like, who hasn't seen the show before? Whoa. Jeez. I can't tell if it's an affectation or what, but we'll get into it.
I think it's at some point, I think if you do that long enough, like it probably just becomes how you talk.
Or damages your vocal cords, honestly. Yeah. That's what the way she does that voice, I'm like, you're not going to be able to come back from that.
Yeah. Or it's years and years of smoking.
Just so many Pall Mall.
What it sounds like. Lot of Pall Malls.
Virginia Slims.
I was going to say Virginia Slims.
That's what it is.
My grandma smoked. This first cigarette I ever had was a Virginia Slim.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
So skinny. Weird. The whole thing. Well, anyways, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
Let's get into it.
I was just laughing about the Virginia Slim.
They're just so skinny.
Do you want a regular thing but smaller? And some people are like, yeah. It's like those tiny cans of Coke.
Yes. See? Well, Virginia Slims are like, they may even be longer than a regular cigarette, but they are like a fourth of the width of the circumference is so thin. It's ridiculous.
I don't mean to laugh. My old man smoked Marlboros forever, but for some reason, the idea of the Virginia Slims is like, hey, for some people, it's not about girth, okay? It's about length. Don't worry about what we make up for it in length.
That's what they did. I believe also menthol. So, you know.
Lord, she would.
Got that going too.
Oh, Linda.
Yeah. I smoked menthols for a while. When I look back on how long I smoked, I'm shocked.
Yeah. How long was it?
Yeah. Well, 8th grade, I would say, is when it began.
My jaw dropped. You smoked a cigarette in 8th grade? That's illegal.
Yes.
That's why when the cool kids were like, hey, Heather, do you want to try a cigarette? I said, no, it's illegal. And then I threw it in the gutter like a fucking narc. And they were like,
you did that for real?
Yes, I threw it in the gutter. And then they all got mad and they were going to beat me up. And this is my mom's like going to be like, don't tell them the story. She was like, what happened? And I was like, they tried to give me a cigarette and I threw it away. And now they want one back. And she was like, well, get one of your dads and give it to them. So that so I did. And I had to tell my dad, like, can I have a cigarette to give these kids so they don't beat me up?
Wow. And he's like, here you go.
And he gave me one. Not good. But I think she did what she had to do to keep me from getting my ass whooped. Because she's like, oh, damn, you stepped in it. I don't know if I can help you.
It takes a lot for young kids to get a cigarette. So if you just willy-nilly discard that, you got to come correct and give it back.
Honestly, it felt like such a fucking McGruff the Crime Dog PSA to be like, these are illegal. And I threw it down. And then the PSA ends and they don't tell you afterwards, like, I'm McGruff to tell you these kids are going to whoop your ass. They're going to be really mad. So he just left me.
No, he left you high and dry.
So high and dry.
Well, yeah, it's throughout college and beyond. Wow. I was still smoking when Tommy and I first started dating. And then probably like a year into our relationship, I think is when I've maybe cut it out. For a while, it was like I stopped smoking, but if I was drinking, then I would want a cigarette. So then I had to stop drinking to kind of like get everything out of my system to where I didn't crave it anymore, and stopped drinking for several months. And then I was able to get back to where I could, do stuff. And then like the first time I was like, oh, I want a cigarette. And then I had one. I was like, worst
good.
mistake ever. Yeah. Oh man, that taste in your mouth the next day, or just the burn in your throat. Also the smell.
Oh yeah.
What was I thinking?
It's pungent. As a kid, I always smelled like cigarettes.
Yeah. I can't even walk by it now without being like, oh, I don't know how I was always smelling like that. Yuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, to me, it's kind of homey too, though, but that's not good. It's not good.
Smells like home.
Speaking of smells like home, East Texas.
Oh, yes. Well, here we go. In April of 2023, news began to spread of a cult developing in the East Texas town of Marietta, about 150 miles east of Dallas, just west of Texarkana near the Arkansas and Louisiana border. Marietta is a small town of just 115 people, with only a single restaurant. Reports emerged that a cult called Profundity was not only buying up land in and around Marietta, but that they also bought the town's only restaurant.
Ain't that about a bitch? There's one place.
The one place everybody can gather and talk about you. You just said, not today.
Not on my watch.
Shutting it down.
Yeah. And there's drama in the Facebook group about people that have sold either the restaurant or the land to people. Anytime they comment on anything, they'll be like, well, you're the one that sold our restaurant to a cult. So they're getting called out.
115 people is such a small amount of people. That's less people than most people graduate high school with.
Yeah.
So imagine like everyone that lives in your town can be fit into like one building.
Yeah, probably like one church on a full day. Maybe have some
not even that
outside.
big of a building.
No.
Yeah, everybody knows everybody's business. I can't be living in a town like that.
I can't take it. Sinisterhood will be right back. It's too hot to turn the oven on or do anything. I don't even want to go anywhere to get food. I'll just lie here on the sofa and not eat anything.
I think you don't even need an oven. You could just set one of these Factor meals outside on the sidewalk, and I'm pretty sure it would cook it.
Dang, it could. Or if I was going to go somewhere, just put it in my dashboard and it'll just cook it for you there. But for real, I want fresh, healthy meals, and I'm not going to make them. There's no stoves turning on in this house.
No, it's way too hot right now. If you're ready to feel your best, stay cool, and also make the most out of your summer adventures, well, you can stick to your wellness goals with premium, ready-to-eat meals featuring high-quality ingredients.
No matter what your lifestyle or what you like to eat, Factor has the meals to help you live it to the fullest. They have keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and protein plus meals on the menu for you each week.
There's 34 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved weekly options with always something new to try. Plus, you can round out your meal and replenish your snack supply with an assortment of over 45 add-ons, including breakfast items, quick bites, smoothies, juices, and more.
And if you're too busy running around during the day to think about lunch, like me almost every day, you can keep your energy up with the lunch to go option. Effortless, wholesome meals like grain bowls and salad toppers that are ready to eat when you're on the go, no microwave required.
I can't get enough of these Factor meals. I tell everyone I meet, we're not just doing an ad because they're paying us to. Like, these are legitimately good, and I would serve them at a fancy dinner and no one would know because I could just put them on a plate and they taste so good that they would have thought I cooked it all myself.
Right? The only way they would know is they would be like, it's so good. And you'd be like, it's Factor. I know. They're so good. We would just rat ourselves out because we want to spread the love.
True. They'd be like, this is really good. You couldn't have made this. And I'm like, no, it's Factor. You're right. Well, this July, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes, no prep, no mess.
Head to factormeals.com/creepy50 and use code creepy50 to get 50% off.
That's code creepy50 at factormeals.com/creepy50 to get 50% off. News first broke of Profundity years on TikTok based on the reporting of journalist and so-called cult hunter Ciaran Warner. Warner began posting videos after receiving an email about the group in November of 2022. Warner calls the group's closest analog Heaven's Gate. One of his TikToks even features footage of the Profundity Year's apparent leader, Linda Good McGillis, participating in a Zoom call with a surviving member of Heaven's Gate.
And in the comments, someone said, hey, wait a minute, isn't that the person from Heaven's Gate? And Ciaran was like, yep. But this is really the first place it got traction. Was he started reporting on it because someone emailed him about it in November of 2022. And he said as soon as he started looking into it, was like, okay, like it went deep. There's a lot of videos. And once you just start hearing the language, that's when he said he knew he wanted to reach out to like survivors and people that were associated but now separate, like willing to talk pretty much.
It's interesting that you might leave one cult to join another.
Yeah, it looked like, so this is I won't say the problem, but an issue I see here with not just with Linda, but with Linda, then this Heaven's Gate surviving group. And then there's another person who conducted this like really long interview with Linda on YouTube. That's like, it's like 2 hours long. It's a lot. And God bless Ciaran Warner, who went through and cut out all the best parts for everybody.
Like, oh, the British guy?
Yes. Also, like,
that she burns, like she like roasts
a couple times, but it's like you're just because he thinks he's a star seed, and then that's a whole separate thing. Is not just people who think they're star seeds, but then those who have said, "Oh, I'm a leader of star seeds, so you need to come follow me and pay $500 for my seminar." So there's a swath of people that have these kind of strange beliefs anyway, and then there are unscrupulous folks who are using those beliefs to then like milk them for money.
Well, a tale as old as time.
Always.
Am I right?
You know.
Ciaran's TikTok, it's not just this cult either. He reports on, there's a lot about Branch Davidians and
like the body.
Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
What's that one?
There's one like the body that's in Alaska. That he was, it's like a new one.
Gosh, I haven't seen that.
It's like a new one. And I think that's kind of how he ended up going on TikTok with stuff. And then something happened with that. And I mean, he's upfront about it. And he's like, this investigation I had to stop because of this reason. So that's why when we first found this, I was like, this person says cult hunter. Well, the people from the body started calling him a cult hunter. And he kind of took it as like a joke. Like, he was like, I'm not a cult hunter.
Gotta embrace it.
But then he embraced it and was like, oh, I'm cult hunter Ciaran Warner. And I was like, you gotta, lean in.
There's no such press as bad press, which leads into me also saying, some of these times I think, yes, he's doing a service by bringing it to everybody's attention. Also, a lot of people are going to now know of this that wouldn't have, that possibly agree with it and want to join.
That's a good point. Hopefully, and I wonder if that's why he chooses like the most outrageous stuff. Not only that, I mean, it does get views and clicks, but to be like, if you search her name, hopefully the first thing you see is a survivor talking about how she acts or whatever. So maybe he's like, if you Google it, it's not just good stuff.
Based on publicly available clips posted online, a picture has formed of the woman running Profundity Years. Born in Portland, Oregon, but raised in Montana, Linda now resides in the small town of Marietta. Linda determined that the group should move to Marietta because the stars aligned and revealed a portal to a star dimension there.
You think that's listed in the maps go? Page 58 is the star dimension.
That, you got a capital. This is what's going to put your town on the map. Or
Marietta, all
115 people are well aware of the star dimension, want to keep it to themselves, and now they're going to have 144,000 people coming into their small town when they wanted to try and keep it under wraps. Linda blew the lid off the whole thing.
She's wrecking shit, man. It's like whenever they start listing off these like, Dallas suburbs, and like when we covered Wiley and it was like 5,000 people live there and like 50,000 people live there now. You're like, we had a good thing going before y'all showed up. It was like, we had a really nice restaurant. There was never a wait.
It really is sad though when it does happen to small towns like this, because the type of people that want to live in a small Texas town of 115, they don't want to deal with bullshit and drama. They don't want to see neighbors. That's why my aunt and uncle moved out into the boonies of Oklahoma, is because he doesn't like people. He doesn't want to be able to look around and
like,
see
fuck everybody.
Another house for miles. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's something to be said about that.
Oh, yeah. They got, and they have great land. They've got a lot of like cattle. They got a pond stocked with catfish. They got all sorts of stuff. You don't need to see a neighbor. I mean, you know, shit goes down. You might need some help, but you're banking on that doesn't happen.
You probably know the sheriff's number, but you're right. And if you think about it, like if they're set up, which a lot of people in rural areas either maybe don't have resources or living in, you know, housing that they inherited or something and they don't want to leave or they don't have the means to leave, or you have a nice setup of your land and your catfish pond. I can't go find this just anywhere. I can't just pick up and move. Like I've made a home. You shouldn't have to move when you have people moving in trying to elbow you out.
No, you shouldn't. And I think that's when you gotta rally the troops, get a town meeting going on.
Christy's like, go get them.
Small have mayors?
Probably. It could be, somebody's in charge.
They have someone. They have a sheriff or somebody. Linda believes on April 25th, 2014, she became a walk-in vessel for an extraterrestrial light being. In a video posted to her social media accounts, Linda explained she experienced
the violation of the body
that day and described it as a rape. After the event, she said her voice changed.
And the fractal of Linda left.
It took 3 times for the consciousness to walk into her vessel, according to Linda. She claims enormous saucer-sized blisters appeared on her feet, which are the result of trying to walk in at a 12-dimensional frequency when she needed to walk in at a 7-dimensional frequency.
This is I think, a moment in her life that might have actually happened. And she's maybe trauma masking with saying that. And that I really hope that all of this delusion did not just come from this one incident. But she describes it as like a wonderful, life-changing thing because this is how she got all her power. But given the nature...
Yeah, and just describe it as a rape is never something, you don't use that word lightly. You shouldn't, certainly. Granted, these are all people's comments on the internet, but on a lot of these posts on TikTok and stuff, commenters will be like, I'm a psychologist. I recognize all the triggers of like trauma here. Like clearly she's had a lot of abuse and trauma in her life that she's working through. And that certainly wouldn't shock me, I think, to get to a point where she's at. Same with the Love is One, Mother Love. She had a history of, being in abusive relationships and stuff. At some point, does your body and your brain start to create stories to protect yourself? You know, I mean, are you suffering from so much PTSD that you kind of, your personalities start to splinter? Who's to say? I'm not a psychologist. I definitely think she should see one and get some therapy, at the very least, for the past relationships she has had, which we will get into in a bit.
Yeah, and it's hard. You're right, though, that there are signs of like, oh, she's made that up to cope. Maybe.
Yeah, I get that impression. Early YouTube videos dated from 2019 show a much less gruff-sounding Linda, generally ruminating on her spiritual journey. Then the videos began to be released more frequently, with increasingly bizarre content. The time during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic marked Linda's greatest increase in followers.
And yeah, if you go back to like old YouTube, like pre-pandemic videos of her, like I said, she's like, well, I went swimming. I can't remember if it was a river or lake, but a natural body of water. And she said, I find it very cleansing and it's now begun to rain, which I took as a good sign that I need to be cleansing and healing more. It wasn't anything that I saw out of the ordinary that if like a friend of mine posted that on Instagram, I wouldn't, unless my friend was like, I don't believe in anything like that. And then suddenly was believing in it. But if someone was generally spiritual, genuinely or generally connected to nature, it wasn't like too out of the ordinary.
Right. It was maybe a little, woo-woo, they might say, but nothing like problematic.
Yes.
I think with Love is One, this, and I'm sure a ton of other cults, during the pandemic is when a lot of people found these because they were online all the time and they just wanted connection. So a lot of people found it in these types of channels. And
you're right. And I noticed the comments were from further and further away people. Like when I clicked, I was like, this person's from the Netherlands. This person's from Australia. So she is now starting to where she's reaching people on like live streams and videos that she was not having that large of a following that wide.
The official Profundity Years website describes the New Age group as
a society of diverse humans coming together now to co-create a new environment, one of empowered gratitude and heart-based living as one with the earth. Each one of us contributes wisdom, experience, and limitless perspectives on new ways of being, living, and participating in life.
When describing their purpose, the site claims that members
bring wisdom of the ways of the ancients to present reality, whilst letting go of the modernization enslavement by living our ancient futuristic knowing.
None of that is even understandable.
Christy,
It's everything on this site is complete word salad.
Did you use magnetic poetry to write that, or?
Dude, I had a word generator and I just kept hitting.
Hey, ChatGPT.
Whatever came. Yeah, I put this all through AI. It is. Let's just go to the website.
Oh yeah, here I've got it pulled up. I got it pulled up here.
It is so. It really is almost insulting how it's written because it's so intentionally preying on people with buzzwords that are just wanting to like feel good, spirituality, a deep connection with others and nature. All of that is great. I agree with all that. But then when you read the entire page and you're like, I'm more confused now than when I started. It's just words thrown together. The mission, live as one with the earth, whole heart, whole mind, whole soul, whole spirit. Promote, apply, embody spirit, aka Peabody? What does that mean? And there's no other mention of Peabody anywhere.
You have to be like Mr. Peabody and ask questions about the future.
There's also really weird capitalization of things that like normally wouldn't be capitalized.
Yeah. And not every time. Like the word new will be capitalized sometimes, but not other times.
Yeah. Nobody ran this through Grammarly or anything like that.
If you click on the first thing in the menu, which is PY Global Private Group, they have a private Facebook group, much like we do with our Patreon subscribers.
But, well, okay. I was going to say, but they charge their people to... Well, do we? Yeah.
This one says
but it's not the only thing you get.
No, but I was going to say, and the thing with their Facebook group, if you don't participate, they will throw you out. It says, non-participation.
This is 6 pages long reading this fucking thing.
It's so many. So, yeah, it says content. It basically says anything, no idle gossip or chatter is allowed. I like
Don't you bring that in here. We have enough of our own gossip we got to deal with.
Yeah, but you have to have an interview with their team before you're allowed in. You must be willing to have a video call with admins. I won't lie to you. I thought about signing up for this and giving them, it's a 30-minute free phone call.
But if you want to be a part of the group, it's a monthly self-investment of $50.
Yeah, I do. I'm not giving them $50.
And then it says, we never wish to overstretch anyone financially. However, we do wish that they invest in themselves, as the mortal consciousness takes things more logically serious when it pays for something. You know what? That sentence is completely grammatically wrong.
It's garbage.
But I do agree with the fact that if you have put money into something, you are more likely to like show up for it.
Yes.
I don't think that they went about it the right way. Then it goes on to say, this self-investment is paid month to month at the beginning of each month. Therefore, the responsibility is that you manually make that payment. Well, that's not a good business model on their part because you're asking a lot of people to remember to do that probably aren't going to, and then you're going to lose out on money.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go well at all.
There's some other bullet points. Content shared promoting people to subscribe, like, watch, or buy products will be removed as they act as a distraction and may contain distortion, that which is not aligned with the purpose of the group. You may see Linda and admins posting things from time to time. However, we do so from trusted sources.
Oh, they're allowed to like subscribe and share.
They're allowed,
but nobody else
because they've vetted it. They've vetted it. I also want to point out how difficult it is to read this because there is not one comma in anything they've written. There's a couple periods, 0 commas.
They are not looking into any type of. There's not really at all. I can see like editing. They also have made a ton of stuff private. If you click on live stream videos, if you click on her name, every single video that used to be embedded in their page and was available publicly on their YouTube channel is no longer.
You can still make a conscious gratitude offering, which is just a donation via PayPal. But what I really want to discuss is the recipes.
They're real into this.
And food pictures they post, which couldn't be less visually appealing. They are as if someone snapped a pic with their phone that they just microwaved. I mean, literally, there's like bowls and microwaves of like, look how delicious this lentil soup is. Lentil soup has never looked good on camera. Don't put it on camera. You're doing it dirty. And then they can't even like jazz up the presentation. I was laughing out loud at some of, I gotta find
Click on Who We Are, About Us. It takes you to like their recipes for some reason.
Home. Let me go to home. Where are we? Who We Are. Oh, they have an herbal remedies blog, an aromatherapy blog, off-grid living blog.
Uh-oh.
Academy is coming soon. A lot of stuff's coming soon. Here we are. Love cooking. Recipes. Oh.
Are you looking at that casserole sitch?
I'm looking at, okay, so it's recipes categories. I have to read what has to be a template that they just didn't really edit, because appetizers, some of these are stock photos. Some of these were snapped with a Motorola flip phone. It says under appetizers, the best options to stimulate your appetite. You can click on soups to feel hydrated with a delicious soup.
You got to hydrate with the little soup. It's like a guy running and he's like, I got this Gatorade bottle. It's fucking full of lentil soup.
Main dishes. Dishes has a C in it. Nowhere else does it have that. Side dishes. Here are the subsidiaries for the main dishes. Who wrote this? What is happening?
I don't.
Time for some refreshing salads. The picture of this salad looks like a bowl of creamed corn with some parsley in the middle.
Excellent.
And then desserts. But if you click on them, okay, let's go to main dishes. There's always 2 recipes under every category. This one, you can either have sauteed white mushrooms or roasted Brussels sprouts. Yum.
Yeah. Did you get to the fried cheese recipe?
We go back. Is that under appetizers?
It looks like it's under appetizers. It's the
here it is.
Ingredients are
under
listed
the cornbread with white cheese recipe.
Yeah, it's listed in grams, which I found strange. 300 to 350 grams of Trappista or monk cheese, 2 eggs, some flour, SOME, just some. How much? Just some. Breadcrumbs.
And again, no amount of breadcrumbs.
You basically dip the cheese into the flour and then I would eat this. My thing is, it said on the muffins though, it was saying to cook things at 200 degrees Celsius.
What?
Yes, it says for the muffins.
When you're not from this planet, I guess your ovens are different.
It's true. The spaceships have ovens on them, and they're only in Celsius. Yeah.
All of these foods seem like if you were going to put a church potluck recipe cookbook together, it's all very like homemade stuff.
Easy.
Yeah, very easy, but none of it screams cult eating clean and green type of food. It's all like fried, just stuff you could whip up in, a couple minutes.
Yeah, and I think that cooking is like a ruse to throw people off that they're a cult.
Yeah, or I think it might just be something they enjoy, because on their Facebook page...
to just like include it. We love it.
On their Facebook page, it's like, join us this week, and I guess this is all virtually, and everything is just like, it's the same post every week, but then they've just copy and pasted whatever the new thing is. One of it was making your own bath salts, pattern art, how good are cucumbers? It's just like the weirdest thing where I think that these people are just kind of lost.
Yeah.
And kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what'll stick. And maybe they're just bored and like, well, these things interest us. Why don't we see if this attracts people?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It's kind of like, well, we'll just, what does well? Because they also will post like kind of teal swan inspirational images. And it's like recipes do well. Inspirational images do well. Oh, I like to make recipes. Oh, I'll make images. You know, it almost is just like, oh, somebody in the group does this. So they're like, it can just be for the group.
Yeah, it's very somebody in the group does this and they're not a professional, but we are letting them do it as if they were.
Yeah.
Which is very Love is One. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sinisterhood will be right back. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. I mean, some people remember being in your 20s back in the day and you're like, oh, what am I supposed to do with my life? I just saw an interview with Rainn Wilson who was like, your 20s is like a workshop with your life. It's okay to be uncertain. And I love that. But sometimes when you're uncertain, you want to know where you're going, what to do next. You got to talk to somebody.
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure right out of high school to be like, all right, what are we doing for the rest of our life? Most people don't know the answer by then, and that's okay. I feel like you're fine if you don't. But if you need help deciding on that about career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want. With therapy, you can navigate life while moving forward with confidence and excitement.
Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice, the easier it gets. And before I started using BetterHelp, I hadn't really gone to therapy. And through talk therapy, I learned things about myself, that I was a perfectionist and why I was doing things or why I was not ready to make certain decisions. And it's just stuff that you unfold by talking about it.
It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try.
BetterHelp's a great option because it's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched to the licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/sinister today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/sinister. Both on her own social media channels and on those of fellow believers, Linda speaks in odd phrases, apparently convinced that she is not only a Christ-like chosen figure, but also a sci-fi style space captain. In one of the videos, she says,
I have holographic and computers in front of me because I'm one of the highest ranking commanders of the Intergalactic Federation of Worlds. I'm in direct contact with my ships and my fleets.
Not only that, Linda claims,
I'm one of the commanders that guide this starship called Earth.
Linda kind of low-key sounds like McGruff.
I only have so much of a low register.
No, I think McGruff has probably been talking to Linda is what, you know,
McGruff's
they say you start to...
McGruff's, hey, was somebody talking about me? Hey, baby.
Hey, McGruff.
Linda's higher. Linda's higher up.
That's how you know that she's got you, as you start talking like her.
Hey, do you want to have some of my corn muffins?
Oh, was that your recipe?
I donated it to the group. Get out of here, McGruff. It's not about you.
This vast interstellar space travel is not always a benefit back on Earth. Linda also complained.
Try driving a car in a human world when you're used to driving a starship that has everything in front of you. You mean I have to drive on this?
Some of what she says, I feel like she's working on a stand-up routine.
She's low-key funny in some things. She does reaction voices from an invisible audience. So she'd be like, the audience will be like, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to do this. You're right. It's like, but I think that probably goes to making her a compelling speaker that people want to listen to. They're like, they get that way of speaking, like stand-up-ish.
Yeah, some of it, at one point I had to stop because my head was hurting and I honestly got sleepy, like listening to it because it was so confusing. But I thought, what if this is a tactic? Because you are really confused. And I was like, I don't even really know. I got to go lay down. So if you keep everybody kind of confused in this, sleepy, I don't know what's going on state, you got a lot more control over them.
I think so. And people in the comments would be like, I don't understand this. And other commenters would go, you have to listen to it 4 or 5 times and then it really sinks in. Well, then you're encouraging people to obsessively study something.
Besides bragging about her abilities behind the wheel of the spaceship, Linda also warned her followers about the end of the world. She said in an interview on YouTube, published earlier this year, that the world would end during the spring equinox of 2023, which happened Monday, March 20th. The interviewer asked Linda,
"Oh, wow, so you'll think it'll be that soon?"
To which Linda replied,
"Oh, I don't think. I know. I'm the one who puts the binary codes out."
What an answer.
Okay, then. And he's like, all right.
Oh, okay, then.
Cheerio.
It's a lot. And it's hard to even really pin down exactly what she believes and what she's espousing because it is such a word salad and all over the place. I don't know if it's by design or she's just struggling so much with her own stuff that she's also lost sight. Maybe a bit of both. I think,
and it seems to me, Mother God style love has one kind of where it's like, oh, we're subjected to the whims of this person. So there is no cogent, these are what we believe. These are the tenets that we believe. It's just like, I don't know. It's just whatever she wants. What does she want today? Chicken tetrazzini? I don't fucking know. She was yelling earlier. It's just like, it could just be because it's a person struggling with something else that everyone hasn't said, hey, do you need help? It's been like, oh, well, we should worship you. Okay, sounds good. We'll do that. And then nobody's getting, in fact, people are getting worse.
Yeah, no, exactly. With, organized religions and stuff, usually it's years, decades, centuries of like, this is what we believe. Do things get tweaked a little along the way? Sure. But with someone like this that every day, you don't know what you're waking up to.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to keep up with that mentally, like to constantly just be hearing like stuff that your brain can't compute tires you out.
And it's also, you can't argue with it because if it's like, oh, well, last week you said this, it's either, no, I didn't, or I know what I said, but I got a new code from the Starfleet and they told me, and it's just wheels off
and
again.
If you can't respect that, then clearly you're not a true member of the Intergalactic Brigade. And then you're ousted and sent to some shed in the desert to wait out the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. Go stand on the back of the ranch out there with nobody else.
According to Linda, spring equinox 2023 would be the day we would leave this form and become ascended. Linda herself would leave her earthly form, or meat suit as she calls it, and become Crystal Sophia, the first divination of life. According to audio footage from survivors of the cult published by Warner, Sophia is the original feminine creator. Linda believes she is the essence of Sophia, a godlike creature, and believes her mission here on Earth is to choose the new 12 faithful followers of herself. She also claimed that the DNA inside her is one of the originals that created the first DNA strand from which we are all derived.
We've all got a little Linda in us.
I mean, we do, though.
I mean, these are some hallmark cult traits, right? Claiming that you're a deity, claiming that you are a timeless being that you've seen and known all. Yeah, again, makes it real hard to argue with.
That you're looking for others to follow you, so then you create this urgency of like being a chosen one because there's an end date and you got to get in good. You better be at the cool kids table so you get to be one of the ones that goes to wherever she thinks they're all going.
You slough off your meat suit and ascend to the stars. But yeah, if you say there's only 12 and it's like, well, we have 11 so far, which of the 2 of you will it be? Then these people are going to Hunger Games it out.
Yep. Linda has also adopted the number 144,000 from other religions and told her followers that exact number of refugees would come to Marietta and that the group needed to be ready. 144,000 is also a pertinent number in the Christian Bible's Book of Revelations, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the Unification Church, also known as Moonies. In these instances, the numbers refer to how many chosen ones on earth will be saved and sent to heaven, respectively.
So yeah, it's one of those where she's just taking stuff. She's doing a Chuckarama buffet style. It's a little Salt Lake City reference for a Golden Corral. I told my friend today at lunch, we ate at Chuckarama in Salt Lake City, and she goes, "What's that?" I go, It's like Golden Corral, but when we used to go when I was a kid." It's like a place and time.
It was good at the time. Oh, very good. In fact, I was raving about it. Several hours later, I thought differently.
Your ass was raving about it. But it's like where you take a little bit from here and a little bit from there and a little bit from there. And it's like, oh, well, I have space stuff. And then let me walk over here to these religions and take this number. And then I'm going to walk over here and take the followers. And I'm going to walk. So it's like, you didn't make none of this up.
It's classic cult stuff.
Yeah.
I think if you pepper in things that are familiar from other, popular, well-known, not fringe religions, then maybe people are more likely to be on board, even if not consciously, but like subconsciously. That sounds familiar to something you've been taught. So you're like, well, this sounds legit.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, it does make sense. It doesn't.
No. Linda claims she is battling darkness with every naysayer she comes across, saying,
"You can't be a galactic commander because look at your body. You can't be that. Go smoke some more packs of cigarettes because your voice is masculine. You know how many people tell me that I can't be ascended being because I don't live in a mansion and show my riches? You're a demon, Linda. That's false light, Linda. That's like, okay, we just put on our skin suits and cloak ourselves because you guys judge us so bad."
Linda even gestured toward herself in one video, saying,
"To you guys, this is a problem. For me, this is the greatest miracle that was ever created. This is Tesla technology."
She also had a few warnings for Earthlings, including,
"There's a third of the population that has avatar robot bodies.
And,
you guys' moon is an artificial construct." We found a moon believer.
Lots to unpack.
Let's start at the beginning. This is one of the ones where she's doing like a bit and she's like, "Oh, they always tell me, Linda, you suck. Here's what I'm going to tell you." I'm like, she's doing voices.
But also, again, some of this I relate with. I don't think you should tell someone like you can't be something because you don't look the way that I think that would look. She's got great points here. Then we get into half the population has avatar robot bodies and the moon's fake. So that's where she lost me.
You know what? Sometimes you get to talking to somebody and there's a little inkling that you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You don't have both feet on the ground. Uh-oh. And that's, she does. She'll start off, to her credit, in some of these interviews, she does start off sounding, and I am trying to just sound like her. I don't want to make fun of her and do a caricature because that might just be how her voice sounds, but it's just accurate. But you're right. I don't want anyone to say, oh, she couldn't really be a genuine religious leader that helps people. She's an asshole and mean to people. That's why I think it was what everybody takes umbrage with. But it's another cult tactic. I think it's very interesting here that she's telling her followers, oh, people are so mean to me. They're telling me I'm a demon. They're mean to me about my body. I'm a victim about my body. They're mean to me about my voice. Aren't they awful? It's us versus them. And it's another cult tactic that's manipulative.
Yep. The end of days scenario may also have been a lucrative grift for Linda, as one survivor also told Warner.
She puts out dates. She gets people panicked. They sell their things and run to her.
In her videos, Linda is direct in telling her followers that they need to ignore their intuition in favor of what they hear from her mouth instead. In one video, she instructs,
"First, you have to recognize the matrix programming so you can return to a place of fun."
She also asks,
"Are you being manipulated?" "Absolutely, by yourself."
In one clip, she is seen pointing at her head before saying,
"Tell this to shut up. This is always going to make you choose."
Other footage shows Linda instructing her followers,
"Empty your mind out."
Empty your mind out so I can fill it up with these wackadoo words.
Yeah, and there's a lot of instances of if you have any doubt, that's just your manipulation. It's your earth body. The world ended in 2012. We couldn't even fit all of her, and this is already going to be a long mini. So there's like way more views that she has where she tells people whatever evidence you see that's the opposite of this. Her theory is that we are all dead and we're all wandering the Akashic records of our mind. And she's like, if you ever get any inkling that this isn't true, that means that your meat sack is trying to trick you and trick your true you, which is in your mind. So you got to turn it off. Don't listen to the meat sack. Listen to me.
It's honestly makes me sad because I look at her and from videos like before 2019, she does appear to be more lucid and
happier.
and like happier and stuff. You know, if it came out that something tragic, traumatic happened to her and things took a big shift, I wouldn't be surprised. And she looks like a small Texas town woman that you and I see all the time. Like, I mean, when she was a few years ago, she might be somebody I'd want to have a beer with on a front porch. She seems funny.
Yeah.
She, and like it, but things have taken a turn and I don't think she even knows how to empty her mind out. It's so filled with so much stuff that I don't know that she could keep up with it.
I don't think so. And it seems like because she does change certain things that she talks about and gets other folk, like she'll focus on Akashic record stuff and then later on be like, oh, but let me talk about this intergalactic federation. And then later on talk about something else. It's like she gets obsessed with things, or like Avatar robot bodies. Well, that's because a new Avatar movie came out. Like it crops up and it becomes part of your mind. But I think this is another tactic where I hope, because these never end well. I mean, a cult like this, Heaven's Gate, Love is One, it's not going to end well without earlier intervention. And when you have somebody that's going through this, not in a lucid state, and then also panicking people and getting them to give her money and taking advantage of others. It's like, we always talk about that line between you were victimized, but now you're victimizing others. And like, at some point there's a line of responsibility. So telling people like, ignore your intuition, leave your family, give me your money, I'm the only answer. That's when it's like, I feel bad for her, but also her actions right now are actively dangerous.
For sure. Yes. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I feel more bad for the people that she's preying upon. And like Love is One, it's like, give me your money, I'll help you.
Yeah.
And then your loved ones leave your family in the middle of the night and take all your savings to give it to this lady. Yeah,
and they all feel horrible. And to your point, like Mother God was abusive and horrible, but I still felt so bad for her son. Everybody knows that everybody was somebody before they were a cult leader, right? Like there's a family she left behind, and whoever that is, it hasn't really been released, but there's probably somebody that was like, damn, I remember before she was like that, and I really miss her.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they both were little girls at some point.
Yeah, right. Sinisterhood will be right back.
Having first garnered a following on Facebook espousing her beliefs, Linda and her followers made their home in a trailer park about 4 hours west of Marietta several years ago. Since then, the group has grown and moved to the small Texas town, where they live at a ranch they call the Emerald Sun City of Lights. They now even own the only restaurant in town after group members gave enough of their money and assets to Linda for her to buy the business.
And also in the Crime Alert East Texas page, people posted and said not only did they buy land in Linden, which is a little bit out there, they bought more land in another neighboring town called Omaha. They've also bought the land in Marietta that they're calling this ranch. They bought the restaurant, and now it says they've also bought the feed store that's in the closest range in a place called Naples. So it's kind of a cluster in this county. And to answer your question earlier, yes, Marietta has a mayor and a city council. But it's these little small towns are kind of connected all by a county, and it may be that like one restaurant serves 2 or 3 of these small towns and one feed store, and now they own all of it.
Mm-hmm. Also land, which people can build on, they can expand on. So when you get a fringe group like this with problematic beliefs buying up huge swaths of land and businesses in one small area, that doesn't lead to anywhere good. Yeah,
and it's one of those like, well, it's one thing if it's like we're investing in the community, but then it doesn't really seem like that's what they're doing it for. It's like we are setting up for a doomsday scenario.
Yeah. I also wonder if the people they're buying this from know who they're selling to. If so, they have every right to say, no, we're not going to do this. Call me a naysayer. I don't think that they have some trust or an LLC or something that can't be traced back to what they really are. It's probably just Linda buying all this stuff.
Oh, no, it's like open. It's a known fact.
Why are you selling to him? If you don't want him to do this, don't fucking sell to him.
The person that sold, I don't know what he sold, but it says your place. So I don't know if it was some of the land or this is the I don't know what this person owned, but they've sold something to the group. They commented and said, "Get a life, people. Go to the cafe and meet them." And then said, "Ooh, fuck this guy already," but said, "You should be more worried about men and women's sports and clothing and drag queens in front of children." Oh! So this person can fuck off to the moon 100 times.
That took a turn?
Yeah, it took a fucking turn. So they're already an unscrupulous, what I would call a person with false equivalencies and a piece of shit and an idiot. But in response, someone said, "We realize you're going to take up for them because they bought your place and they've been nice to y'all. But to think someone who says they're an alien is harmless is you're crazy. Have you not watched all the videos she put out? These people are unwanted in our areas and the numbers are growing every day." So everybody's kind of concerned. Someone said, "I can't believe you knowingly sold to this woman. Did you know?" And people are like, "Oh, did he? But he did not respond." He said, "Go." Yeah.
I imagine he did. And I imagine that check, he didn't care when he saw the numbers. Of what
no, he did not.
According to Warner, around a dozen followers live on the ranch. Those who have left and spoken with the cult hunter say that the conditions are nothing close to paradise and describe Linda's treatment of them as something closer to abuse. One of those abuses is sleep deprivation. Linda believes,
"Your light body only sleeps for 2 or 3 hours."
In one of Warner's TikToks, a survivor tells him,
"She works you from night to day. There's no sleep."
Another survivor told Warner it was hard to describe just how awful she felt after all the sleep deprivation and forced tasks by Linda, saying,
"By the time I left, I felt drained. Like my energy, I don't know how it works." Everybody's voice that talked to Warner just sounds beat down and exhausted and like I don't even like she was just like I'm not even sure what happened. Like it was just bad. And just to be it's what you said earlier, sleep deprived and then fed a bunch of nonsense. You're like yeah, okay.
You're walking around like a zombie. Your head is in the clouds. You feel foggy. Like you can't even put two words together to form a sentence because you're so out of it. And you have to deprogram, go to therapy, heal yourself. I mean, it makes me sad for people that bought into this, leave it, and then they're worse off than they were when they got into it and probably still looking for something and hopefully don't join something else like this.
Right. And that's exactly when they leave, kind of, they're ripe for somebody to come along and go, well, we have the answers now too.
The survivor went on to say that a member may only be allowed to sleep for an hour before Linda would wake them up to embark on something like a mandatory 19-hour road trip with no rest breaks. Another survivor confirmed, saying,
"Eating rules, sleeping rules. She doesn't allow people to sleep more than 4 hours. And if you need to sleep for more than 4 hours, then you're sick spiritually."
The survivor also alleges that Linda has been administering psilocybin mushrooms in quantities sufficient to make members suffer unfortunate side effects.
And there were, so far unsubstantiated by any major news outlet, but the allegations were that people were having seizures. Like they were being dosed in quantities beyond what's recommended and that they would be vomiting, sick. That the mushrooms themselves weren't really the problem. It was the quantities with which she was forcing it on people.
So she's drugging people to keep them under her thumb, it seems.
Yeah.
And then taking away a human bodily need to function like sleep affects everything else. So you wear people down and then they're less likely to leave, less likely to argue with you. If anyone woke me up after an hour and said, "You got to get in the car for 19 hours, I'm out."
And that's what I mean.
I will never join a cult that does that.
Yeah. And that's crazy that the amount of sleep deprivation that she's doing, you start to get sick. You have to sleep at some point. You can't keep people awake. They're going to start hallucinating. And then you're also giving them mushrooms. So this is when it goes from like, she's got these wacky YouTube videos to like, there are people under her physical control and fiscal control that they've given up all their money to her. So you're out 2-3 hours from Dallas, you're far away from Dallas, major areas that you can maybe get better access to better help, that you're isolated on this ranch next to a star dimension and you have no money to get home and get help.
No, and she presents everything in a way that it's she gaslights you. You're the problem. If you need more than a couple hours of sleep, then you're sick spiritually. No, 6 to 8 hours of sleep is what they say. I need way more.
Yeah, if we go like 8 to 10, I feel pretty good.
I could never, with like 4 hours of sleep is like a nap to me. So I'm out. But if you're in it and she has you under your control, like you're so tired, you can't even put up a fight.
It's true. I mean, my dad used to sleep in shifts. Like he would sleep like 8 p.m. to midnight and then work all night and sleep like 8 a.m. to noon because he delivered newspapers overnight. Mm-hmm. And the 4 hours solid, I mean, it was like do not disturb. There was a game, like an actual board game called Don't Wake Daddy, but that was just also our house was like, don't make a noise. He has to get his sleep because it's so important. But even with that, he was still tired. Like he was exhausted because there's something about the uninterrupted. So if you have to do it for work, that's one thing. But to have somebody force that on you and the toll that it takes on your body physically is like, she's abusing them.
Oh, 100%.
If that's true. Yes. Yeah.
Perhaps most disturbing of all is Linda's connection to a man convicted of distributing child sexual abuse material. According to Warner, around 7 years ago, Linda started dating Mark Allen McNeely. Her name is mentioned in a 2021 decision in which McNeely attempted to appeal his conviction. Having pled guilty to 12 counts related to distribution, transportation, and receipt of the abuse materials at various times from 2013 to 2018, McNeely was sentenced on October 11, 2019. In the appeals decision, Linda is referred to as McNeely's girlfriend and mentioned as having attended an evidentiary hearing where she testified on his behalf via Zoom. The decision also discusses Linda's role in McNeely's case post-conviction, stating that he told Linda about his desire to appeal. She also testified that she tried contacting a court clerk on his behalf and wrote about McNeely's ordeal in her journal. Well,
this is where it takes a turn. And the comments on that East Texas Crime Watch page were like, well, you should also know her boyfriend, whatever. And I found the appeals court decision and it mentions her first, middle, last name. It's her. And yeah, she was really trying to root for this guy even after he pled guilty to 12 counts of federal charges.
Yeah, 7 years ago was when he got sentenced. So if obviously they were together before that, he clearly is an abuser as well. Mm-hmm. So you have to wonder, well, did he abuse her? Was she involved in the abuse he is serving time for? At the very least, she's wrapped up in an abusive situation, and the fact that she's supporting him, that's probably the biggest red flag for me.
Yeah, it was one of those where initially when I heard, she was dating a guy and then that guy was arrested for this distribution, I would never want to fault somebody who was like, oh my God, this happened under my nose. This was awful. But the appellate decision is pretty damning insofar as like she really went to bat for him several times in several capacities despite knowing this. And this was not a simple just trading images online. I believe it involved coercing parents. Will be all I will say on that. So it involved manipulation, coercion. I don't know of her. It doesn't say whether or not, she was obviously not arrested or involved criminally, but he clearly has the capacity to manipulate and convince people to do things that are way, way, way outside the norm and has been federally criminally convicted for that. Like he pled guilty too. That's the problem. Is like, lady, he said he did it.
Oh, I'm sure she knows that he did it. My biggest concern is he gets out and he comes back to a ready-made cult that he can just get his hands right back into.
And he was excited about.
Yes. The appeals decision does note that Linda was not living in Montana at this time, though it does not say where she was. An audio obtained by Warner, another woman who had been involved with McNeely, claims he floated the idea of starting a cult with her, but she took it as a joke. McNeely is eligible for release in 2029. Some members of local Crime Watch pages have expressed fear that he may come to live with Linda in Marietta once he has completed his sentence.
And I would be concerned about that as well as a resident.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sinisterhood will be right back.
One commenter on YouTube lamented how badly the group has affected their mother-in-law, writing,
"This cult, particularly Linda, has entirely changed my mother-in-law. She literally parrots Linda's views and beliefs that she's a pilot of a galactic vessel. Incredibly, she also speaks star language. The Profundity / Latter-day Saint / New Age mashup has some spiritual education accuracies to it, and that sucks people in. With my stepmom, first it was Charlie Ward, then Q, and now she's stuck with this cult. It's destroyed my girlfriend emotionally, as her mother is simply not present, and therefore we feel we've lost her. People think she's doing no harm, but it really is. I see there's also criminality with regard to Linda's partner, and now victims coming forward about abuse and forced psychedelic overdoses on the ranch. Ultimately, the truth will come out about this organized crime, but many people will likely need exit therapy to get out of it."
This is when you see how sad it really is, because while everything that's going on in the cult is awful, the people's families that you've lost your mother, you've lost your mother-in-law, and this is the third cult, I mean, obviously it's a pattern with her. So to imagine just going over the years of having to deal with someone that believes all of this and is so dug in, it's just super sad to think that you could lose your parent to something like this.
Definitely. I mean, they mentioned QAnon, and it was just echoes of that QAnon when we covered that. Or Love Has Won, where that woman talked about her husband was leaving dinner with their kids to go watch these live streams. And I think you're right. It becomes an obsession with some people, and they get fixated on it. And when it dissolves and collapses, like Q, where they're like, "Oh, we know QAnon's not real." It was like, "Oh, well, that's fine. It doesn't matter," because did you know Linda Good McGillis can drive the Starship
There's always
Earth?
one to pick up the pieces.
And we'll tell you, the people before me were all lying and made it up. And the star language, I feel like we've let you all down, but she speaks it's like speaking in tongues, but I think, and it's just kind of like, it
sounds like Simon talking.
Like a baby. Yeah. It's like babbling, but she's like, "I'm getting a transmission." And you can't argue with it. So, and that, can you imagine that your mom comes in from watching a YouTube video and is like, it's horrifying.
And you're like, what? Yeah. Another commenter described their eerily similar experience.
"This has been the experience with my brother. The parroting of Linda's words and speaking light language is exactly the same. When I mentioned that I'd found Linda's thoughts questionable, condescending, and sometimes abusive on some of their YouTube videos, he was quick to defend her and the people at the ranch, calling them his family and brothers and sisters. He's never met any of them in person. All of their free-to-view YouTube videos were removed by them recently, and they only have a cooking show, which they share from time to time on YouTube and Facebook, content that has nothing to do with what Linda usually preaches about. The timing of all of this coincided with the launch of their private Facebook group that charges a $50 monthly self-investment to connect to Linda and the ranch online."
For now, the group has made its videos private, writing on March 14th, just as TikTok interest was gaining traction.
"Dear valued subscribers and viewers, with the advice by legal representation, we've privatized all videos due to a group of people doing criminal conduct, vicious intent, and copyright infringement. We will continue to post and do videos. However, they will be immediately privatized until this criminal case is settled. The Profundity Yours team and Linda Good McGillis."
Criminal is capitalized in that.
Of course, it's got to be. Vicious.
Yeah, vicious is also capitalized. From a legal perspective, do they have, is somebody violating copyright infringement?
The only thing I can think, and this also would nest under, so what do we think? But
okay, so what do we think? And let's now talk about it.
And we'll talk about it, yeah. So what I think happened is she was doing all this, the pandemic, she was kind of, fumbling around trying to be a spiritual leader. The pandemic happened. She started getting followers. She really got her hooks into the followers. She made this proclamation that March 20th is, or whatever day it was, this March solstice was go time. We're all going to ascend, whatever. Well, on 6 days before that, she makes everything private, because if you look at the Google search trends for Profundity Yours, it's pretty much a flat line until early March of 2023 when Ciaran Warner's video started going viral on TikTok. So then people started Googling it. So then I started noticing like early articles would just be like stump articles, would be like a very short, like, a new cult's going viral on TikTok. Very little is known. They're in Texas. And then the next one and the next one, the next one. So I think as she saw that they were getting more, it was like pro and con, like followers, yes, but also like detractors. And I think there's no way that she didn't find Ciaran Warner's videos. And I think that's who she's referring to in this paragraph.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I think somebody alerted her to it if she didn't see it herself.
Or they have, a Google alert on her own name. But yeah, if she said that a vicious intent and copyright infringement, I would argue everything he's used has been fair use. He's reposted without commentary some of her stuff on YouTube, and that could be dicey, and they would just have to do like a DMCA takedown. You just say to YouTube, I own this video, it's me talking, and this guy doesn't have any rights to it. Granted, if it was like a clip of her talking and then him talking and analyzing it or doing, that's how React videos get away with it because it's fair use for commentary. So that would be it. But I think what it is that she privatized everything to A, make the $50 a month, and B, because she knew that the negative pressure was getting on her. And then especially if you look at some of the local the local like crime watch groups and posts that people have made, they're very concerned and said like, I am concerned. People are saying, who gives a shit? And they're like, this is the next Heaven's Gate, Waco, Jonestown. Like, we think that it is coming here. And especially with this criminal element of the ex-boyfriend, some residents seem on high alert while others are like, who gives a shit? And I'm like, you should give a shit.
I would give a shit if I lived there, especially when is he up for parole? 2029?
Yeah, pretty soon.
I mean, that's not that long away. I feel like this has the propensity to get real out of control real fast if it's not stopped. And how it gets stopped, I don't have the answer to that. I feel like of all the places to start a cult, a rural small town in Texas, there's gonna be a fleet of weapons out there.
I know. My thing is like, what do you think is gonna happen? But the problem is, and it's like with Branch Davidians, I think they kind of go, well, this is like land nobody's really using. Like we can like move in. It also has, what's that called? I followed for a while. Rajneesh Puro. I didn't follow them.
The Wild Wild Country
Listen,
one.
I accidentally used their tarot cards for like 3 years. But the similar to that, where you're like, you find an area that's small enough and just being like, we can strong arm these people. If we get if you brought 144,000 people, you would be able to control every election. I mean, mayor, city council, all that's yours. You just basically strong arm your way into a town. So the people going, oh, who gives a shit? Like live and let live. First of all, you don't think that about everything. Andy Smoke, seller of something to people who posted on Facebook and was talking shit. But it's like, you feel that way now, but it's going to be like, why didn't nobody do anything sooner? Mm-hmm. And hopefully
there's going to be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks when shit goes real wrong, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we're all wrong and this just fizzles out and, it kind of goes away. I don't know. I hope goes away in a way that is
in a good way, like she harmful. Just like disbands. People get to go back to their homes, and she gets whatever help she needs, and like disassociates herself from this like horrible child predator that's looming. His return is looming. So someone on the Facebook group said the FBI is aware. Is that true? I don't know. I hope so.
I don't know. I bet the FBI watches TikTok. I mean, like, this TikTok and like this boots on the ground kind of grassroots journalism that's taking off. You can get into a lot of places you couldn't as a big news truck showing up. This guy's just using his phone, walking around the town. You get like Channel 5 showing up. That's, that alerts everybody. But when you can kind of blend in and get like behind the scenes stuff, the FBI sees that. Might be helpful to them.
I wonder if they have alerts on or just watching her because of her, connection to this other guy.
Yeah, and Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, hopefully it all ends well for everyone and the good residents of Marietta can have their old town cafe back.
Right.
And their small town way of life before things get real bad.
You can park your spaceship here, but just don't muck with my grits. That's all.
Right? Well, if you like our free episodes, you'll love our Patreon bonus content. You can join for free to see what we're up to next, or dive into over 500 hours of bonus content, like the mini-sode you heard today, as well as our upcoming mini-sode on the tragedy behind that dress that had everyone on the internet asking, is it yellow and white or blue and black? For recent patrons, thank you so much for supporting the show, and make sure you stick around after our sign-offs to hear your shout-out.
And you can head to Sinisterhood.com and click shop on the top banner to check out merch like t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, and even clothes for your kiddos.
While you're there, you can also review the show, follow us on socials, and check out the episode description for more fun, like topic-based playlists and links to live show tickets.
And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Sinisterhood Pod. You can like us on Facebook at Sinisterhood. We're also on YouTube and TikTok. And if you want to get us on Cameo, we can do a custom video shout out. We can say happy birthday, happy anniversary, any message you want us to send. Just hit us up on cameo.com and search Sinisterhood. Christy, where are you at online?
I am on Instagram at Christy M. Wallace, and I am on TikTok at Christy or GTFO. Heather?
Pretty much everywhere at Heather versus the World.
As always, the devil rules the airwaves.
Keep it creepy. Hey everybody, thank you so much for supporting the show on Patreon. Here are your special Patreon shout-outs. Melissa Baker,
Kristen Lane,
Janine Ferguson,
Kate Shirley,
Jolie,
Jennifer L. Sprandel,
Aaron M. Donahue,
Candace Faria,
Nicole Watkins,
Kira Mickelson,
Emma Hernandez,
Maddie Poloni,
and Lizzie Birmingham.
Thank you so much for supporting the show. We could not do this without you. We sincerely appreciate all your love and support. We hope we pronounce your names correctly. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep it creepy.
Mwahaha.